Hey everyone, so I wanted to show you how I use Google Calendar to organize my work and personal life. I know many of you probably already use Google Calendar and have been for a couple years probably, but it's something that's a little newer for me, and I always think it's helpful to see kind of what other people do with the tools you use and get ideas and see what works for them. So I tried using Google Calendar a couple years ago, and I felt like it was too rigid for me. Like I was trying to give myself the same schedule every day and sort of fit all my work into that schedule, and it felt really rigid. But in the past year or so, since I've started thinking about organization in a more flexible, sort of freeing way, it's worked a lot better for me. So I kind of love it now. So the way I started figuring out how I wanted to structure this calendar in my week was by brainstorming what my ideal week and within that, what my ideal day looked like. So an easy place to start for me was to just fill in like what's permanent in my week. So if you don't work for yourself like me and you have more of like a 9 to 5 job, you might know that you have to leave for work at 8:30 a.m. and you'll get back by 5:30. And then what are you doing in the evenings? If there's like a workout class that you always go to on a certain day during the week, go ahead and fill that in. So for me, I really like this 8 a.m. yoga class. And every week I might not make it to that specific class, but it's a good reminder that if I can't make it to that class for some reason that day, I can sort of put it in another day and just remind myself that I want to go to yoga at least one time this week. Same thing with my gymnastics class. I try to go once a month or twice a month. Um, and then from there, I started thinking about sort of the categories within my business that I need to get done every day. So that's like checking email, scheduling social media stuff, editing, that kind of thing. And from there, I started thinking about, well, when do I actually like doing those things within the day? So editing is a good example for this. So I really figured out that editing feels the best for me after lunch. In the morning I really like to focus on more creative stuff, writing. I just feel more clear-headed, and editing is something that's like a great thing to do for me after lunch in the afternoon. So I've kind of put a placeholder there on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I figured out too that if I edit more than a couple times a week, I start to really hate it. And so I try to batch it and just get as much done as I can during those time blocks. And I can always move this around if a shoot comes up during those times. So that's how I kind of keep things really flexible. So over here in my calendars, this is sort of how I categorize everything. So yours might look completely different, but these are the ones that really work well for me. So admin is checking email, going over my accounting, planning and scheduling social media. It's more task related items. So you can see I have a lot of pink over here. But those are a lot of things that I can sort of pre-schedule, and I already know that they're always in my calendar every week. They need to happen, so they're just automatically there. So bigger vision kind of goes into my creative work calendar. They're kind of combined, but that is more creative stuff like blog writing, brainstorming, working on a new project, that kind of thing. So I try to schedule the most creative work as I can during the week and just really make that a non negotiable, because I know that if I don't work on that bigger picture stuff, I start to feel really stuck and yeah, just really frustrated with my business because I'm not thinking about the bigger picture. So I try to make that a non negotiable in my week. And then my cycle calendar, I've talked a little bit about this in past blog posts, and I'm kind of working on a bigger one right now, so stay tuned for that. But there's a couple people that I follow that kind of teach about the cycle and how you can really bring that into your life and how you organize your life. So Claire Baker is one of the people that I follow, and she divides the cycle into seasons, so autumn, spring, winter, and summer. And so I know that if I'm in, say, my autumn or winter, I'm going to be way more lower energy than in my summer. So I'll try to schedule shoots and my calendar kind of around that. And then editing is kind of self-explanatory, just time block for editing photos. I have a home calendar, which I use for like scheduling lunch or if I need to go to the post office, stuff like that. My Living My Best Life calendar is obviously the best calendar, but that is like fun workout classes if I get together with girlfriends for drinks or something. And then if I look at my schedule and I don't see enough purple, I know that I don't have enough fun and relaxation kind of scheduled in there. So I try to make sure I have enough fun stuff scheduled during the week. And then meetings and appointments, pretty self-explanatory. Shoots, same thing. And then right now I'm planning a wedding, so I have our wedding tasks on there too. I thought it'd be helpful to kind of go through the week day by day to show you guys what works for me. So if you look at the whole week, I start every day with a sort of inspiration time to read or just journal, get my mind right for the day. So I have that as a recurring event every day. And then from there, I'll kind of fill in how the week's looking. So right now, this week, I kind of jumped ahead, but this week's pretty empty right now because I don't have anything specific scheduled yet. But I'll just start kind of filling in with events. So creative work, maybe it's like blogging for this morning. Like that feels really good to start with. And I know I'm going to check my email at 11:30, so I'll kind of have a 2-hour block right there. I'll go back to my current week. So right now I'm working on blog stuff, and then I have to go to the post office later, and I didn't get my finances kind of reviewed last week, so I'm going to do that this afternoon. And then I have a shoot out near Kiowa later this afternoon, so I know that's my last thing of the day. So the afternoon's kind of reserved for that. So this is kind of how it looks totally different than the week that I was on before, but it kind of shows you how I can look at each day and go back and kind of craft the day based on what needs to get done and what feels really good to get done that day. So this week I have a lot of shoots. I have 3 within just Wednesday and Thursday, and so editing for me this week is really probably not going to happen. And I know that next week I'm a little bit freer, so it's going to feel better to dig into that editing work next week. So that's sort of just the overview of how it looks in real life. But I'll go back to this kind of empty week just as a template to kind of show you guys where to start with. So Monday for me feels really good to just do some creative work, be at home if I can, just get into that sort of task-related stuff that feels really good to just get ahead on Monday. And then Tuesday, I kind of like getting out of my house and going to a coffee shop to work maybe and doing some creative stuff there. It helps me not feel stir crazy since I do work at home. And then I have my editing blocks on Tuesday, Thursday. Other than that, the time, before lunch and after lunch, I try to fill in with creative work as much as possible. But like this week, it's kind of crazy, so I don't have as much time for that kind of thing. But I try to keep that in there as much as I can. And just kind of switch things around if I need to. Like if a shoot this week comes up on Tuesday during my editing time, I'll just move it to Wednesday if I don't have anything there. So I really try to just keep it super flexible. And so these are just a few examples of things that I know work best for me in the flow of my week and the flow of my day. And the great thing about Google Calendar is that it is so flexible. Like you can just click on these events, change the times around, move them to a different day. And if you have that mindset, it makes it a lot easier. So a few things for me that are really key in sort of creating this overall schedule for myself. One thing is repeatable events. So this inspiration and mindset time I have as a repeating event. Right now I have it Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then Wednesday is a little bit different because I have this class, so I know I get home and get ready a little bit later. And then another thing is just really using this as a to-do list. So when I look at my week, since this one's a little bit further away, I don't have any specific tasks, but I know that if I'm looking at next week, I can change this to like edit and deliver gallery for this person. And so I can really stay on top of specific tasks that I have going on that week. So I make this kind of skeleton schedule a little bit more specific as I know exactly what's going on in recent weeks. And then at the end of each day, I look at the next day. So I have this as a repeatable event down here also. And it really just helps me, especially working at home, to look at the next day, look at the schedule, see if it still feels good, remind myself of what I have coming up, that kind of thing. It just really helps me sort of let work go, and then I can transition into my evening activities and all that stuff a little bit easier. Quick overview of how I like to use Google Calendar to start scheduling my week, schedule my days. It really works for me now. I think at first I felt like it was just super rigid, but I kind of switched my mindset on it and realized how flexible it could be. And especially using it as a to-do list has been really helpful. So I would love to hear. I know a lot of you guys use Google Calendar already, or if you use another scheduling system, I would love to hear what works for you guys. So if you want to comment on the blog post and let me know, that would be great. Thanks for watching.